Hello learners, welcome to today's lesson. Today we are going to look at Form 2 Mathematics under the topic Indices and Logarithms, but today we are going to focus on indices. So when we talk about indices, an index is the power to which a number is raised. We say an index is the power to which a number is raised. For example, if we have a number like 2 raised to power 3 means 2 multiplied by itself 3 times. That is to say we have 2 times 2 times 2, which gives you 8. If you have a number like, for example, 4 power 3, 4 power 3 means 4 multiplied by itself 3 times. That is, we have 4 times 4 times 4, which gives us 64. What if we have a number like 3 raised to power, for example, 4? 3 raised to power 4 means you take 3, you multiply by itself 4 times. That is, we have 3 times 3 times 3 times 3, which gives us 81. In this case, if you look at the number 3 is raised to 4, meaning 4 becomes our power, or what we call an index. Therefore, we can say 3 power 4, this 4 here, 4 is the index, or what we call the power. Then, of course, 3 which carries the power, we call it the base. The most important part under indices, it is to understand some of the rules or laws which govern this particular section in mathematics. So let us look at the laws of indices. Laws of indices. The first law of indices that we are going to look at, if for example we have a number like a raised to power 5 multiplied by a raised to power 2, this is to say a power 5 means a multiplied by itself 5 times. That is a times a times a times a times a. Then of course a raised to power 2 means it is a times a. In total we are going to have a raised to power 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and that becomes the answer to that particular part. Alternatively, if we have a power 5 multiplied by a power 2, this is to say that so long as the bases are the same, we take the common base, which is a, then we add the powers. That is to say we have 5 plus 2, which gives us a raised to power 7. In other words, so long as the bases are the same and the sign between them is a multiplication, you take the common base, which is a, then you add, the powers. 2. What if you have a raised to power 5 divided by a raised to power 2? This is the same as saying we have a raised to power 5, which is a multiplied by a 5 times, divide by a power 2 is written as a times a. Then from there we cancel a and a goes, a and a goes, such that we are going to have a multiplied by a multiplied by a will give us a cubed as our answer. How else can we do this? If the bases are the same and the two are joined by a division sign, then a power 5 divided by a power 2 is the same as having the common base, which is a. Then we subtract the powers, that is 5 minus 2, giving us a raised to the power of 3. Rule number 3, if we have a, for example, power 2 raised to power 3, this means we are going to have a squared multiplied by a squared multiplied by a squared, and this translates to we have the common base, which is a, and the sign between the bases is a multiplication, meaning we are going to take the common base, then of course we add the powers. We are going to have 2 plus 2 plus 2, giving us a into the power of 6. Alternatively, we can take a squared raised to power 3. You open up the power by multiplying 2 times 3 to give you a power 6 directly. Those are the 3 rules which are going to govern the subtopic indices, and in this case these rules can only apply if the bases are the same. Another thing that we are going to look at, which is basically our number 4. Our number 4, you could be having something like this. You have a raised to power 4, you divide by a raised to power 4. This is basically a raised to power 4 divided by a raised to power 4. A raised to power 4 divided by a raised to power 4, it will automatically give you 1. But if we apply the rules of indices, we have a power 4, you divide by a power 4, the bases are the same, therefore we take the common base, which is a. The sign between them is a division, that means we are going to subtract or minus the powers, and in this case we are going to have 4 minus 4, which gives us a power 0, and any number raised to 0 will always give you a 1. So you realize it is the same as the answer we obtained in our first calculation. Number 5, if you have, for example, a problem like this, 2 raised to power 3, you divide by 2 raised, for example, to power 4. Under rule number 3, the bases are the same, and therefore we take the common base, which is 2. Then now we go and subtract the powers. That is, we are going to have 3 minus 4, giving us 2 power negative 1. And anytime you see a number raised to a negative power, this negative stands for the reciprocal, and therefore this is the same as 1, reciprocal of a number means 1 over the number, so we are going to have 1 divided by 2 raised to power positive 1, which is going to simplify down to half. Let us do another example related to that one. What if we have a number like 2 power 2, we divide, for example, with 2 power, for example, 6. If you get a problem like this one here, remember the bases are the same and the sign between them is a division. We are going to take the common base, which is 2, and the rule always dictates that we subtract the powers. That is, we are going to have 2 minus 6. This one is going to translate to 2 power negative 4, and that negative always means the reciprocal of 2 raised to power 4, and therefore this one is going to be 1 over 2 raised to power 4. 1 divided by 2 raised to power 4 means 1 divided by 2 raised to power 4 means 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, which is going to give us 16 as our final answer. What if you have something like this? I'm going to call it number 7. I'm going to call it number 7. Number 7, what if you have something like this? We have 3 raised to power, for example, 2, divided by 2, that is raised to power, for example, 5. This one is going to be equal to 3 as our common base. Then the rule dictates that we subtract the powers. That is, we are going to have 2 minus 5, which is going to give us 3 raised to power negative 3. And this negative here means the reciprocal of 3 power 3, which is going to be written as 1 over 3 raised to power positive 3. And this one is going to simplify down to 1 over 3 power 3 gives us 27, and that becomes the answer to this. Lastly, number 8, before we look at other problems, what if we have 2 divided by 3 raised to power negative 2? This negative means the reciprocal of what we have, and therefore we are going to take the reciprocal of this fraction by writing it as 3 divided by 2. Then now we square. If you simplify this, we are going to have 3 squared giving us 9, divided by 2 squared will give us 4, and that becomes our answer. Anyway, so moving forward, we can now look at some of the examples of what we have done. 1, examples you can be told to evaluate. A, we have 2 power 6. You multiply by 2 power 4. As long as the bases are the same, we take the common base, which is 2. Because the sign between the 2 is a multiplication, we are going to directly add the powers. 36 plus 4 giving us 2 raised to the power of 10, and 2 raised to the power of 10 means 2 multiplied by itself 10 times, which is going to give us 1024. B, what if you have something like this? We have 3 power 10. You divide by 3 power 4. Under the laws of indices, so long as the bases are the same, we are going to maintain the common base as 3. Then we subtract the powers. That is, we are going to take 10 minus 4, which is going to give us 3 into the power of 6. And 3 power 6 means 3 times 3 times 3 up to 6 times. And this one is going to give us 729 as our answer. Moving forward to, let's say, part C. C, if you have something like this one, we have 5 squared, you multiply by 3. This means 5 squared multiplied by 5 squared multiplied by 5 squared 3 times, which is going to translate to 5 squared multiplied by 5 squared multiplied by 5 squared. And since the bases are the same, we take the common base, which is 5, then we add the powers. That is, we are going to have 2 plus 2 plus 2, giving us 5 raised to power 6. And 5 raised to power 6 will give us 15,625 as our final answer. Alternatively, 5 squared raised to power 3, what you do, you simply need to open up the bracket by taking 2 multiplied by 3, giving us 5 power 6, and 5 power 6 will give us 15,625 as our final answer. Let us look at example number 2. Example number 2, we are supposed to solve 2 power x cubed being equal to 2 raised by the power of 12. Left hand side and the right hand side, you realize the bases are the same, and therefore now we move down and say we have 2, open the bracket, we are going to have 3x, and this one is going to have 2 to give us 2 power 12. Since the bases are the same, we just drop them and equate the powers so that we have 3x being equal to 12. If you divide by 3 on both sides, 3 and 3 goes, and our x is going to be equal to 4. This is part A. Let us look at part B. Part B of the same question, we have 4 power 3 multiplied by x being equal to 64. So we can open up the bracket by having 4. 3 times x, you get 3x being equal to 64. You realize the first part is written in index form. That means the other part should also be written in index form. So we are going to have 4 raised to power 3x being equal to, remember, we are going to make the bases the same, so we are going to have 4. Then we raise it to a certain power to give us 64. That means if you take 4, you raise it to power 3. If you drop the bases and equate the powers, we are going to have 3x being equal to 3. And if you divide both sides by 3, 3 and 3 cancels, and our x is going to be equal to 1. Question number 3, we are told to find the numerical. Find the numerical value of, we have A, we have 9 raised to power half. When a number is raised to half, it means the square root of that number, which can be written as the square root of 9, and the square root of 9 will give us 3. B, we have 25 raised to power negative half. If 25 was raised to half without negative, it could have meant the square root of 25 straight away to get us 5. But this negative here means the reciprocal of 25 raised to power half, which can be written as, this can be written as 1 divided by 25 raised to power half, and this one is going to translate to 1 divided by 25 raised to power half, means the square root of 25, which is going to be equal to 5. C, what if we have something like 64, we raise it to 4 power 3. So the denominator is the one that is going to dictate always what we are going to do. This is going to be written as the cube root of 64, then everything raised to power 4. And in this case now, the cube root of 64 will give us 4, then everything raised to power 4. 4 raised to power 4 means you take 4 multiplied by itself 4 times, and this one is going to give us 256. Alternatively, you can ask yourself, which number are you going to raise by 3 to give you 64? Automatically that number will be 4, then you raise it to 3, it will give you 64. So in other words, it means 4 power 3 will give you 64, then everything is going to be multiplied by 3, by 4 divided by 3, such that 3 and 3 will cancel. We go down and have 4 raised to power 4, which gives us 256 as our final answer to that particular question. What if we have something like 4096? D, we have 4096 raised to power negative, we have negative 3/4 raised to power negative 3/4. What is going to dictate is the denominator. This is 4, meaning the fourth root of 4096, then everything raised to power negative 3. This means the fourth root of 4096, then everything we raise it to negative 3. From here, using your calculator, get the fourth root of 4096, and the fourth root of 4096 will give us 8, and this one is going to be 8 raised to power negative 3. This negative here means the reciprocal of the number we are talking about raised to positive 3, which is going to be written as 1 divided by 8. Now we raise it to positive 3, it will be equal to 1 divided by 8 power 3, means 8 times 8 times 8, translating to 512. E, which is perhaps the last one, we have 36 raised to 1.5. This is a decimal, and therefore now we are going to change the decimal into a fraction by writing it as 36. 1.5 is the same as 3 divided by 2. And the denominator always dictates on what to do. 2 means the square root of 36, and therefore we are going to have the square root of 36, then everything raised by 3. The square root of 36 will always be 6, then everything raised by 3, and 6 raised by 3 means 6 times 6 times 6, which gives us 216. Alternatively, you can say if we have 36 raised to 3 divided by 2, you ask yourself which number are you going to raise to the denominator so that you get 36. That number is going to be 6 raised by 2. 6 raised by 2 will give you 36, then everything you multiply by 3 divided by 2. Such that if you take 3, multiply by 3 divided by 2, 2 and 2 goes, such that we are going to have 6 raised to power 3, and this one will give us 216. Thank you for watching and welcome to our channel. And in case you have just bumped onto this channel for the first time, kindly take that 1 second and click the subscribe button. And to the subscribers, we thank you very much for continuously supporting the channel, because we have now crossed the 1000 mark, approaching or looking forward to hitting 2000 in the coming days.